Good afternoon, soldiers, mercenaries, gladiators, and gamers.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Heroes and Generals Devstream number 19, live from Copenhagen. I'm Reto Gargamel, and I have with me Reto Redbjane, game director. And today we will be reviewing a little bit what the new build has brought to the servers. We're talking about the Spats build add-on number 2 that was rolled out earlier this week. And so I guess I'll
long-awaited.
Yeah, the long-awaited. Yeah, we did have a little bit of a delay on that one.
Yeah.
So what really has kind of resulted of this is that well, at first there were some new bugs, of course, that were introduced. As with every update, there's always like the unforeseen bug that can sneak in. So some people had crashes when they tried to launch an action game. We fixed that. If you still are crashing every time you're trying to launch an action game, maybe it's a different bug. So contact support, but most likely you shouldn't crash, not systematically. There was some server issues that caused frame rate drops, and that also has been addressed. But I'm told it could still get better. I'm not sure. That's what I got on my little outline here. But maybe this information is a little bit dated. I asked Tobias. He said that was a server thing.
What I heard was that they're looking into if there was. I think QA came up with that. There's still some minor issues, but I don't think they actually verified that there was issues. So. And
there's one bug that some people are having with if you have an AMD graphics card and you have Gaming Evolved, it's an app that comes with it. I have this little video here. Maybe if Thomas can put it on full screen, that thing there.
Boing.
And full screen it.
Full screen it.
Yes.
Do they need to define the? Oh, this is
just so that
moving?
people can see where you're clicking. So this is just a video that Rito Fox made. So it shows you if you have when you start an action game and suddenly the game starts to slow down to a crawl and freeze. Most likely, if you have an AMD graphics card, then you have to go into the options if you start it. Here, is it playing?
Yep.
Yes. So just go there in your preferences, and you find games, track games, play statistics. Disable that, and most likely it should no longer freeze. That is if you have that app running on your thing. Now we're going to take a look at Nicole Kidman. But
I can just.
So that's for the bugs that we've been keeping track of. There's the new hit detection. We got a lot of help from the players, a lot of useful feedback. So thanks for actually helping us fine tune it. We're not done, and we've been getting some, of course, some very angry feedback because some weapons have slightly different behavior now. The reason for that is that basically fixing the hit detection system involved basically fixing a lot of bugs, and this resulted in some of the weapons just having a different behavior. We had to kind of readjust all the values, and we tried as much as possible to match the values of the weapons as they were before, but basically having a cleaned up hit detection meant that everything had to be kind of reviewed. So we're not done adjusting the values, and we're still basically we're going to go through the whole thing again for the next build. So there's not
basically we are in the process we are working on the next build obviously already, and there we have already changed so much in the up and coming weapon model that stuff like this will be sort of like fixed or at least not the same for the next build.
So like among the feedback we got is that SMGs suddenly have too little feedback, not feedback, but too little recoil. People were complaining about the MP40 before being nerfed or something. Now they're like, oh, it's just fine, thank you. I love my machine and pistol. So
and there's the thing about the
LMG,
the MP42 being
the MG42
being very there's a lot of recoil on it.
But it was supposed to be there before.
Yeah, but I think I've actually, when I heard that, I went in and we looked at the actual numbers, and it's actually almost the same as the funny thing, as the Browning. The reason why it feels so much more recoily is because it shoots so much faster. And the recoil part is something that sort of like compounds when you shoot. It adds up. So the faster the weapon shoots, it doesn't have time to, so you could say, like cool down
to recuperate. Basically.
Yeah, and because it shoots so fast, it actually sort of like boosts the effect of the recoil. So, and that's why it feels a lot more.
So it's like for every bullet fired, you have a little bit more recoil that kicks in.
Yeah, it adds on. It adds more recoil, and between the shots, it reduces recoil. But because it shoots fast, it doesn't really have much time to reduce the recoil. But we will just have a look at it again in the next build we're making. But we did look at it and thought that it actually made sense, because the MG42 actually shoots this fast. So it's I think it's before there was an adjustment that actually made it very precise, and I think. Now, I'm probably going to piss off a few people, but I think that some of the guys that have been running around shooting with MG42s have been enjoying a very, very precise MG42.
Death ray.
The death ray. And we are now more back to normal. But I'm sorry about that.
We had this whole... when we had our production meeting, we talked about the MG42, and we had this whole kind of tangent discussion about the bipods. And I think there's one thing we never got to explain to you is people are asking, like, can we get the bipods for MG42s? They kind of expecting that this is just a matter of butting it in, and but there's a design challenge to that.
Yeah,
right?
we are discussing it obviously, and we would really like to put it in, but it's a bit more complicated than people usually think.
You explained it so well yesterday. If you can do that again.
I actually think we did talk a little bit about it at some point, but basically what the challenge is that when you just have a normal weapon, as is now, the pivot point, the point on from which the player, you rotate around you like this, and once you mount the machine gun, the pivot point moves from the character to the end of the weapon, and then it goes like this instead. And that poses some problems with animation, and suddenly it's a different type of collision with going into walls and all sorts of annoying problems that arise on that.
That's the thing, right? When you would deploy the bipod, so it's like you would find a surface where you can put the bipod. Yeah. And then you have to kind of make sure that the character will not clip into walls when he's rotating around the weapon, and that there's enough room for the weapon to do that.
The room for the character, animation to actually do that. So it might be super annoying if you just put in and say you have to be in this. You can't deploy your MG because there's not enough room for your soldier. That would be a bit odd, I guess. So I think we need to find a bit more foolproof system where you know that you can always deploy your MG, or we can have was it in Red Orchestra where you run up to a surface and it sort of like detects that this is a surface where you can mount your machine gun, and then it sort of like locks you into a position. But obviously we would like to have the bipod to be used where it's supposed to be used in the open field when the soldier is lying down. I totally think that it's worth having in the game, that we should have deployable bipods, because it sort of like makes the machine gun a little bit more complicated to use, and because it actually introduces a great thing about the MG is that obviously people running into your line of sight more or less dead because it's just a very dangerous weapon. But the way to counter that is take advantage of that it's hard to like shoot to the sides with an MG. You have to take up the machine gun and reposition and shoot like that. So you can have some nice flanking maneuvers and flanking tactics to take out a machine gun. And I think that's one of the good things that we probably would get to the game from having deployable bipods. It just has to be not too complicated. I've seen several games where especially the tripod thing, where you have the where you fix the weapon into a tripod. That in some games just gets way too complicated. Where you have it on your back and you take it out and put it up, and that's just too complicated. We shouldn't go into that. That gets too much of a character physics simulator more than an action game. So I think that would probably not happen. But the bipod thing is definitely something we're looking into. So we haven't really decided on a proper great solution for it, because it involves so many aspects of development.
But that pretty much answers why aren't they in the game yet? I mean,
sometimes when people think that we're not going to do this and that and this, most of the time it's because the problems are always a bit more complicated than you usually think. So coming up with a solution that doesn't affect something else is actually pretty hard.
So that's for the LMGs and the hit detection. There's another important thing that was added in Spatz add-on 2 was we have a kind of I don't want to get into details, more active anti-cheat. So now there's some cheats that just don't work, and we are able to detect more. I mean, if not all, most cheats we can detect now. We get more information as to what's going on when people are cheating. So combined with hit detection, we are getting a lot less reports. Even like people are reporting less for cheating, because I mean, either the cheats don't work, or basically the hit detection makes it clear that you're playing legit, and yeah, that's actually a great relief for everybody, both you and I.
So that stuff put a lot of pressure on the support.
Because I was getting a lot of that, and now it seems that to have really calmed down. It's kind of cool.
That's good.
We're
don't want to stress you too much with the huge amount of support tickets that you're getting faced with.
The hammer is heavy. So we're going to talk about combat badges, but later. I think we have kind of like all these questions. We're behind in the questions since we canceled last week.
Everybody was sick last
Everybody
Friday,
was
so we just actually
sick,
took the
kidnapped by aliens, everything.
We took we took the questions from last Friday, right, and just shoot them to this session. So that's why there weren't any questions getting picked this week, because we already have plenty.
I'm going to start, in that order. Marv 2.0 asking for the real-time strategy game. Is there any? Will there be some daily salary in war funds planned for generals and field officers? I think would be
I just need to. Sorry, I need to see the
peek into the cheat sheet. Yeah, but I made a little note here that we're discussing that.
Yeah, we are discussing having more rewards for the generals, and definitely a daily battle reward, or daily log in and do your stuff would be. We should get that into the game, because right now we just award the action players. For playing the action game you get, but you actually get gold, which is a thing you can use in all over the game. So, but then and the players actually get quite a lot of war funds for playing the action game. But yes, we are definitely looking into rewarding the generals a lot more. They're sort of like starved a little bit right now in the whole progression thing.
Oh, I'm seeing the chat is erupting in questions.
Exploding.
Hold it a little bit. We're going to go through the questions that people have been submitting on the forum, and later on I'll just say go, and and when I say go, you can resume. because otherwise, I mean, I can't read both the sheet and the chat at the same time, unfortunately. There's a question from King Fu Julian. Will you change the XP earned depending on who you kill? On basically the player's rank. Like currently, it doesn't matter if you kill Oberschütz, private first class, or a colonel. So
that's fun. We have actually discussed that a few times, and the the issue here is that obviously this can be exploited quite a bit, which is always dangerous. And then there's the thing that what you are probably asking for is a reward for killing a much more skilled player than you, rather than the highest rank. Because a high rank in the way that the rank system works doesn't really say much about the skill of the player. It says a lot more about how much time he's been playing. Because you can reach the highest rank by just purely playing the game, no matter how bad you are. Obviously, good players, skilled players, will reach the higher ranks more quickly, which so it's not clear that probably the the players with the high ranked soldiers are probably better than the ones with the lowest.
It's not a direct one.
But there's no direct correlation between those two. And our newly incorporated matchmaking system that's based on skill actually puts you in games where the other players have sort of like the same skill level as you, which makes a bonus based on skill kind of like not ever happening, because you are sort of in level up with the other players you're playing with. So it's kind of like, but I totally understand where he's coming from. Obviously, it would be good old Dungeons and Dragons where you slay a
level 14.
Level 14, and when you're level 8, you get like a huge amount of XP, and that's just the way it should be, obviously. But basing it purely on rank, it might be something we could look into, just having a slight scale or something on. But it's something that's not. We cannot implement it in the way that the players would expect it to be, because of the fact that the rank doesn't really.
It's not Dungeons and Dragons.
It's not that the player gets better when he is a higher rank, but he might be better because he's played longer. So it's kind of like a reversing. But we'll take it into consideration when we revisit the ranking system.
I think you mentioned that it could be nice to have like a notification that says like highest rank that you killed is. So basically, you.
Oh yeah, that would be another thing, that you actually have a sort of like a scoreboard of like a what's the highest rank I've ever killed.
So
that could be another
kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I think it's usually you have this in online RPG games where you actually have different levels, and obviously you I think was it World of Warcraft that you had this where if you kill lesser leveled characters, then it's actually bad for you, rather than it's encouraged always to be the hero and fight the to always be the underdog, rather than just killing noobs.
So I had a question here that you don't know the answer to. I do. Warf is asking, will you reduce the frequency of heavy fog, and will we have more sunny weather in the action game? I went and got the numbers from Rito HAL 9000. It's a mouthful. HAL 9K is so it's the guy who basically does all the render engine, and basically we have 10% foggy weather. That's not a lot.
Yeah,
it's just it's kind of more difficult, but it's not all the time. It just maybe feels like, oh no, not again.
So one in 10 games should be foggy.
Yeah, I mean 1 in 10 is not that much.
Oh, it's 1 in 10. We could make it 1 in 20. But it actually it's it does change the game with the fog. I know it's really annoying for the fighter pilots that it's really difficult for some of the levels to see the ground, and you just run into it.
Yeah, there's a follow-up question to that. So I guess that is about that. So Marv 2.0 asked, are you considering reworking the fog, because currently it's what does he say? It looks unreal, and it's not true that high in the air it's still foggy. So I don't know. We could go check, but apparently we might consider volumetric fog. So that you would or we would put the info about the weather on the campaign map. So those are two options that are.
What did Henning said about?
That's what Henning said about that.
The volumetric fog, because it's other games have that.
There's I think there's something to do with. I don't know. It doesn't affect performance, does it?
I have no idea. That's what I'm asking. So. What was his answer on that one?
Was cryptic about that, but yeah. Well,
did he tell you a riddle?
No, it was just yeah. I'm not a good journalist, but yeah. So we're considering the volumetric fog. So that's something that it's doable, but it depends on I guess how much sense it makes. I guess.
Yeah, but I think it makes perfect sense to have a volumetric fog. I would love to see that, but it all boils down to performance issues. If it's possible without breaking the rendering or something like that.
But I'm not sure I get it, because I mean, if you have like less fog as you climb up in atmosphere in altitude, you still don't see the ground.
No.
So.
Right now the fog is just based purely on the depth of
distance,
the screen.
right? But so that means like you can fly, you could see the other planes, but you don't see the ground.
And you, depending on how it's set up, you would be able to see, like, if there's mountains, then some of the mountains might come up of the fog, and other things would just be completely covered in fog. So I actually think a volumetric fog would definitely be cool, because you'd probably be able to see explosions and stuff like that down in the fog, but you wouldn't be able to spot soldiers and vehicles. So I think it would be cool.
It's to do with manpower as well.
Also, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if people heard that. I don't think our microphones catch that. So Thomas, the camera guy, was saying, but he's also the animator most of the time. He was saying that it has to do with manpower. All these like elements are being kind of handcrafted. So
yeah, it's just like a lot of the people in here to have multiple roles. It's not that we have one person for each role, and that's the only thing he does. We're still a small company, so most people in here actually do more than one area, and obviously that reduces the time you can spend on each area. So we have to prioritize.
The next question will be from Keldin. Is it possible to have the time spent in the deploy queue, the one that you have when in the action game, the amount of players is not evenly matched on both teams?
Yeah.
Would you have that time count towards the time played in the mission with respect to earning your soldier's salary?
I think I asked you to check up and Tobias and see what the rule actually is.
That's true. I'm sorry, I forgot that one.
Yeah.
But still, there's one answer to that. Is like currently, if you're not spawned, the time doesn't count. That's the thing. Sorry about that. So we could actually go and check. So with the numbers, as in.
The thing is that you have to be in battle for a certain amount of time to be registered as having been
currently
in battle.
It's you have to be spawned 50% of the battle.
Yeah.
Or at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, and this guy wants to know if it's possible to actually count towards that time when you're in the deploy queue. And I can see that it's super annoying to be sitting in the queue and just waiting for no good reason. But you might also just have people just logging in and just leaving their computers and being an annoying guy that just sits in the deploy queue and not spawning, because you can actually do that. So I think it's hard to come up with a super clear rule of this. We could, but that's where we introduce some more code. Is that you could say that the time in the queue counts like only 25% as being in battle, in order to make sure that you just don't just log into a game and just leave your computer to be able to collect your your bonus without ever having been deployed in the action game, because you could do that, but we should make sure that the time would just not be enough to actually
be worth it.
Yeah.
But also the whole reason that there's a lot of people they just don't understand why there's even a spawn queue, because they're thinking there's a lot. If you look at the press tab and you see the roster, you're like, well, there's a lot more of guys in our team, so why do we have to wait to get in there? And the question is because we put that in so that when one of the teams starts to not have enough spawns,
it's
so that you have the same number of people playing.
It's again one of these questions where you have to put the balance somewhere. Either you have one team that is only have if you just spawn all the players in the game, one team would have a lot more players than the other, and it would suck to play on the team that has less players, because they would just get instantly run over. So the way we solve it is to have people join into the game, but still try to have sort of like an equal amount of, you could say, boots on the ground on each side. So yes, if you're on a team that has twice as many players as the other one, then you wouldn't spawn as often in the game. And it's a problem that cannot really be solved. So it's also you could it's the same thing is that if you have two equal teams and one team just starts not deploying, so they get less. For example, you were 18 versus 18, and suddenly on your team 8 of the players decide to just walk away and still be locked into the game. Then you would have the rest, the 10 rest on your team, they would have a really sucky experience, because suddenly then they would get run over by 18 other players. So we have to reduce the amount of players on the other side to balance that out. I think with these type of games we have several of these issues where we have to decide where does it hurt the least to do a solution, and this is one of them.
Wolfbane actually has a suggestion. He says the time in the redeploy queue shouldn't count the first minute in the queue, so that should solve it. Actually, I'm not sure I get what he means.
It doesn't really make any difference, because if it's 29 minutes or 30 minutes you've been sitting in the queue, that's still more longer than you have been.
But can you ever sit more than I mean,
then we have to introduce something where people get kicked if they have been in the queue for 5 minutes. Then they're kicked out of the game. That would probably solve it. If you have been in the queue for the amount it's required to be in the battle, you'll be kicked. But again, we get the problem with people going to the bathroom, coming back, and then they're kicked out of the game. And but I'd say that removing players from the game if they have been waiting in the queue for too long.
To a certain extent, I think after a certain time, it kind of makes sense that either you're here and playing or you're not. Because so it's kind of tricky.
It's slightly tricky.
I guess that's the main answer for that. Gigaflop is asking what are the top 5 development priorities at this time specifically.
It's a great question.
That is a great question. Well, actually, we wrote kind of this.
Yeah, we wrote a list that was not top 5. It was just like a list of stuff.
Having a top 5 is kind of.
It's hard to have this is the top, because obviously we do work several things in parallel, so it's hard to put one above the other. But what did I say?
But we wrote 2014 was about widening the game experience. 2015 is about adding depth.
Yeah, that would be the general thing
so
to say we've been adding in 2014 a lot of stuff to sort of like broadening the experience, and now we have a time where I think we need to put more depth into each of these features.
And so more specifically, what we got there, we got scalability, so more of everything.
Scalability also means on the back end that we can handle more players. We have more players in the same in the same battles, for example, or in the same war, and the servers can handle it. Constantly working on not getting server freezes because suddenly we get a rush in of a lot of players. That's very important for us, and it's always on the top 5. Then there's obviously
more content.
Yeah, more content, which means obviously, the progression. You've seen the progression of ranking, the progression of the ribbons. Just more stuff to put on the progression. That you got more stuff to unlock, more stuff to play around with, more weapons, more tanks, more of everything.
Maps.
More maps. Definitely, we're working on new maps. Did I say that? Fuck.
Sure, some people are going, finally. And more stats, that's what we wrote also. And of course, hit detection, well, that one is already, you can scratch it off.
Yeah.
So
and obviously, we are also looking into, when we say more depth, tweaking and maybe revisiting some of the gameplay rules as we go along. Something that's very important for us as well is to get more into the social aspect of the game, which means we've been hearing these like clan structures and all this stuff. It is something that we are working on to bring into the game, and I think that's something that's definitely on our top priority for 2015 is the social aspect of the game.
I've had more and more. I see people asking me, for example, how do I, play with my friend if my friend's a tanker and I want to be infantry?
We are working on solutions for that stuff, once we have a more ready design and start work, we can start to make some sessions where we explain a little bit about how we think this should be working in the game.
So it's still from the same guy, actually. I don't know if you can find the URL for it. We had this thing here. What is it? It's on comms. The soldier loadout kind of wireframe that you have. That you were
that
showing
one.
us. Yeah, can you? If you can find that one, I'll read the question. So from Gigaflop, will we ever see an overhaul of the soldier selection interface? For example, to be able to sort soldiers by faction or by career.
Is this one you're asking for?
Is it that one? I think you had a. Well, actually, yeah, I think that's the one. I guess we can.
Can we
full
show
screen that? So this is like a design document.
This is actually a somewhat older wireframe we made, so it doesn't really resemble the entire game perfectly, but because these are made in Illustrator, so that's why they're not making it. We mock them up and then we discuss them, and once we come to an agreement, we might not change the actual wireframe. We just move ahead. But you'll see is it something where down here at the bottom we've been discussing sort of like a character carousel where instead of having the buttons here at the side of the soldier, you switch with the soldier. You have sort of like a band of your available soldiers down at the bottom, so you can see more than one soldier at a time. Isn't that what he sort of like gets into?
I guess, and but I think we already answered though that the people were asking, could we get a checkbox to like disable viewing this faction and all that? Is it like? Yeah, I think we were talking about how we don't want it to look like.
You can see already now the UI here is getting
heavy,
cluttered. We started up with something clean when we changed the UI, and now we're back into the clutter fest, and more options obviously bring more clutter. One solution would be to start looking at these requests from the players of they want to add stuff to the UI. We could sort of like put that into the options menu. So you can see I want to have this switch on, and you get the switch on. But basically, when people are faced with the game for the first time, we have a lot of problems with that. They find it overly complicated. So it's a fine balance between having a clean, simple user interface for the new players and having a super complicated, tons of buttons interface for the advanced players. How to solve that? I think we need to revisit this a bit more before we can say that we're going to do that. And obviously, a player that has 30 plus soldiers he's not one of the new guys.
No,
He's one of
that's not a new guy
advanced
problem.
guys. Yeah. So he wouldn't probably mind that he had to switch it off in the options or something.
That I think that's a pretty good answer. SD Squid is asking, will we ever be able to open and close doors?
One of the old ones again. Maybe. It's. I say that it's one of those things that could complicate the levels a little bit too much if you could close the doors. One place I could find a good place to use closing a door would be if in a bunker system, where you go into one of the bunkers and you close the door behind, and you should be able to lock it. So you had the locking mechanism on the inside of a bunker room that can only be operated from the inside.
But then if you die in the bunker and the door is locked?
Yeah, we need to... Again, it's one of those things that it sounds easy, but it does cascade into multiple problems that need to be solved. And this would obviously be where you have to make some sort of detection. As if there's no players inside this box, you unlock the door and open it again. I think it would make the bunkers less of a death trap, that you could actually lock the door behind you, not getting completely killed all the time in there. But it does require quite a lot of quite extra mechanics in the game. Obviously, it's solvable. It's just a matter of is it important enough? Does it improve enough on the game for us to put it in for this one instance, or can we come up with 2 or 3 other instances that would improve the gameplay in other areas that would sort of like use the same code and mechanics? And it's definitely worth putting in.
Your phone is hungry. So the next one would be from Swagger on a Zillion and Karth Antilles. I'm not sure how you read that. Again, anyway, will Heroes and Generals ever get trading cards and achievements on Steam?
That's one of the answers would be, I need to investigate some more into that. It sounds like something that we should do, given time, and obviously if it's something that a lot of players are requesting, then we would look into it. Sounds like a cool thing, though. I'd love some Heroes and Generals trading cards.
So maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe,
Again, massive amount of requests for a certain thing definitely changes our focus. But only one guy saying, "Yeah, I want this," he needs to get some more requests for the same thing.
What about will you give that's sorry, from Bert 1976, will you give the general a battle winning bonus?
I am not sure I'm totally understand what battle he is asking for. Is it when his assault team has won a battle?
I would say most likly, yeah, because he's talking about a general.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to do that. We are working on some. Obviously, we lack proper notification for the generals of what has happened to my assault teams and all that stuff, and that's the missing page for the mission briefing screen window. Is your assault teams have been involved in a battle? Give me the stats for that battle. The difference between this that screen and the others is obviously that has to be that can happen while you're offline. So it's something that we need to hook up to the notification system. So when you log on again, you could say, okay, these and these assault teams has been in battle, and you click on the notification, you open up the mission screen, and you can see what happens. And in that screen, we would show what has actually happened in the battle.
Shili is asking, will you add a description to weapon stats, such as like what is sway, what is recoil?
We already, yeah, yes. That is, we have been once again looking into that part of the UI that has to do with the weapon modifications, the upgrades, and redone part of that screen or that window, and that's for the next build. And obviously, yes, we added some descriptions on what they actually do. These effects have on the weapon. I think one of the problems we are facing with these is that we have to go a little bit out of the normal terminology of these descriptions in order to not confuse people too much. For the effects on a weapon, we would prefer to have all the parameters as being more is better, less is worse. But some parameters, when described in the old-fashioned way, you have less is better and more is worse. Recoil is a good example, where obviously you have a weapon with more recoil makes it worse, less recoil makes it better. We switched that term around and call it stability instead, because the more stable the weapon are, the better. And in order to make sure that the player can easily look at modification or the weapon and see it's good on all fields. It's green on all fields, which means it's good. Other than instead of having to think, oh, okay, the recoil that's the opposite. So one parameter actually acts opposite of the others. That's just really confusing. So that's and obviously we put in we simplified the UI part of that once again to make it even more simple, and we put in the descriptions that he's asking for on the tooltips of the effects.
So you have to kind of mouse over.
You mouse over the effect, yeah, and you can see
okay.
all the different upgrades, what parameters of the weapon they affect. I think I showed that a while ago with this.
Showed your editor.
With the editor, with the bullet spread and all that stuff, and we're trying to get all the parameters of the weapon put into a better graphical representation than just a bar, like a progress bar or a number, because recoil 10 doesn't really say much. It's confusing. All you know is that 10 is better than 8, but what is that? How does it look? So we're trying to one by one taking all the parameters and see if we could sort of wrap them into a nice graphical representation instead. Still, obviously, with the intent of showing the difference between certain configurations of a weapon or the difference between two weapons. So that's one of those things that are coming in the next major build as well, that we revisited this whole thing. So you can actually see the effects of the weapon in the equipment screen, rather than I think right now it's only in the shop that we actually use for example, the damage range damage graph.
So you would move that eventually?
It is.
It is okay.
It's already moved in the next build. Obviously, it's you have to wait a few weeks to get that one. A month. I don't know when it's going to.
Oh, something.
Yeah, something
like that.
Yeah.
A month and some weeks.
But actually, I think the damage versus range thing is a very good example of parameters that's really hard to describe with a bar, because the damage a weapon gives is affected by the range it has. Because the way the damage is calculated is that we set a damage that the weapon does from within it's you call it near range, and then you have another damage that it gives on the far range. So that's near range and far range, and near damage and far damage. That's 4 parameters that actually describes how much damage does the weapon give. So it would be misleading, to say the least, to try and compress that one into just one bar or one number, because that doesn't really say much. Some weapons give a lot of damage on a close range, and not a lot of damage on a long range, and some actually have just a more even curve where they
And again,
give medium damage on near range, but also the damage fall off is not that great, so it actually
and the damage is for one bullet. I mean,
Yeah.
because then again, there's the weapon that you know
you have
just
the damage per second stuff
throws
as well.
all the bullets in the world at your face in 10
It's-
seconds, and that kind of counts.
No,
too.
but that's true. The higher the firing rate,
Yeah.
the higher the damage per second you get from a weapon. So there's a lot of parameters that you have to take into account. And we're trying, because these parameters are very, very hardcore gamerish to understand. Not a lot of the players understand, but we have some very clever players out there in the community that does understand it and are constantly saying, I want damage per second, I want all these numbers that they know work. And we are actually trying to sort of bring them into the game, but we are trying to see if we can present them in a way that's actually understandable for non-hardcore gamers. Also, the rate of fire, it's another thing. Rate of fire is not just how many bullets can a weapon shoot. It also incorporates the reloading time when you run out of ammo. How long time does it actually take to have a magazine switch on your clip switch on the Garand between firing within a minute? That will give you the true rate of fire of the weapon.
I can't think of it. No, I'm just looking at the chat, and sorry, I thought it was very funny.
Are they?
They-
What are they?
They're discussing my T-shirt.
I thought they were.
Leben heißt Leben. Yeah, but we can't actually talk more about stats because of that question that I was saving from Debussy. Was asking about the combat badges, and I'm starting to. We were talking
running out
about
of time already.
No, but I wanted to cover that one because it's a very good question.
Yeah, do we have time to take some questions from the chat as well?
Maybe one or two after that, but that one I think.
You know what? Let's do the combat badge stuff we talked about, and then just continue with some after that with some questions from the QA, and let's see. We might run overtime this.
Yep.
This
Let's
session.
do that. The question was, can you explain what combat badges actually do? Because, for example, it says that the nimble badge, you can see it here if you can full screen that, in our wiki. The description is, that's the same description as in the game.
Yeah, just go to the. Actually, I have to say this again.
Yeah.
The wiki is player driven, so it's free for everybody to go in and improve on the descriptions of the game in the wiki. If you know something about the game that when you read this and say, okay, this is not properly explained, you're totally free to just go in and explain it in a better way. That's what the wiki is actually for. So go into the Heroes and Generals wiki and just knock yourself out.
So here, for example, that one. I mean, in the game, that's also what it says. It says minus 25% sounds, minus 50%.
I think we are trying. We would probably from here on we would take a few of the badges and try and take them up and describe how they work and what the thoughts behind the badges are.
Because some of them are not like immediately super obvious. So that one, for example, minus 25% sounds actually at the bronze level. It means it disables footsteps both when you normally run and when you walk, but when you sprint, you still have footstep sounds.
The nimble one is actually for especially for close-up kills and if you want to be silent. And you can see that gradually we just remove sounds from the character.
So at silver level, you have no rattling gear noises. So your rifle and all that straps no longer clink. And at gold level, you have no sound of cloth brushing. So
every time you move, it
doesn't go swish swish when you're moving.
You should be. I think it's only the panting, the breathing. Yeah. We have one thing that's very not very. We call it
subdued. What?
Yeah. You do make some sound when you have the gold badge, but it's far less than when you don't have anything. So that's it. Doesn't really say. I think it has to do with the UI stuff that it's hard to. The whole thing is built up on a percentage reduction or something, one more point, and so it's hard to fill in the text of footsteps are removed for running and jumping in the UI. That's why it just says minus 25%. But the wiki would be a great place to actually put that extra information in. That we actually physically remove sounds from the character in the game. Physically, code-wise, we no, but when you
spoon.
Spoon the sound. No, but this could easily be understood as just turning the volume down, and that's actually not what's happening. The sounds are actually switched
selectively off. Switched off.
Switched off.
The other question that Debussy had was about the Deadeye badge, which is, I think the only description we have is like your weapon sights are kind of contracting faster. The crosshairs are contracting faster. And the player was asking basically, you said that the crosshair is only an aiming help and nothing else. So what does that help? But actually, it's not true. The crosshairs represent how much weapons sway and how much cone of fire you have.
Fire,
So they have an impact even when you're not moving. They actually mean something. If you're standing, your crosshairs will be a little bit apart, like they're not touching completely in the middle of the screen. If you're prone, they're kind of I'm not prone, but crouching. They're already contracting a little bit more, and when you're prone, they almost touch. So that's how much the cone is being reduced, right? I think that also is part of the new hit detection algo. Is that the crosshairs are a better representation of what's going on for real. There used to be, I think, for some weapons, they were kind of not telling the truth before, so now they are, and so that's what it is.
We have to explain a little bit. The weapon system is actually the precision part of or the accuracy part of the game is actually based on the character's movement a lot. So it's when the character does like this one with the gun, we shoot out of the gun. It's not like a lot of other games have actually just this is where the bullet is fired, and then you just direct a vector from that point, and that's the cone fire, the basic cone fire mechanism. We have that as well, but it's just much smaller than normal. So we have some cone, but we have the what we call the sway is the movement of the gun, and obviously when you shoot doing like this, the more the gun moves when you shoot, the more sway it will actually get. And also the sway is when you're finished firing, how quickly does it stabilize again? So that there's a lot of parameters involved in the precision of the weapons. So
when you're even not necessarily turning, but when you just fire from the hip, there's the recoil makes it so that the crosshairs kind of they need to contract again as you.
It's the same thing.
Kind of recuperate from the recoil.
When you turn around, you'll see the crosshairs go like this, and that's actually because the gun is moving, and it's stabilizing again in a position when they contract again. And that's also why again when you shoot, you move the gun, and that's what the thing we started talking about with the MG42. Why does it have that much imprecision compared to the Browning? That's simply because it just shoots faster, so it doesn't have time to contract as much as the Browning have between each shot.
I was going to. There was one question that.
You can see that we didn't finish the Deadeye.
Oh, did we?
It's just the thing is that the Deadeye badge basically just takes all these parameters where the cone fire and the sway and all that stuff is calculated, and when the calculation is done, you just reduce it by a certain percentage, and that's how it works. It's actually pretty simple. It's the gold one just gives you 50% reduction on the
time it takes
on the final sort of like imprecision.
It reduces the imprecision.
Yeah.
But does it reduce the time it takes for you to kind of stop swaying?
It reduces the amount it sways, you could say. You say calculate. Okay, we have 80 in sway. putting on the badge would give you 40, and then obviously you have on top of that, stuff will start to reduce, but the reduction is not obviously counted in the other way. It still has the same reduction.
So it kind of also affects...
It affects the entire weapons,
yeah.
sort of like precision, recoil, and all in one.
So I had another question actually that I was saving from before. Is that a lot of people are asking about war bonds? Is there any plan to have a new batch of war bonds?
Yes, I will add a few more series. I haven't calculated them yet. I need to sit down and actually make the calculations on the next series, and then I have to discuss with a few other people in here what the rates and everything should be. But it seems like the people still buy them, so we will continue offering them. Obviously, it's a long-term investment for players to buy the war bonds, and we do look at it in that way as it's a discount on gold. If you bought a huge amount of gold and you can't really use it right now, you can buy some war bonds, which will ensure that at some point you will be given your gold back with a premium, and then you can use it, because at that time we probably have some more stuff you can buy. So
sorry, I couldn't help looking at the chat again, and the Dutch guys are suggesting that the Dutch faction generals should have the option to flood the battlefield. So
sorry, what?
If you play the Dutch faction as a general, you can flood the battlefield. that's brilliant. We should totally have that. The create lake.
Open dike.
Yeah, open dike. So we think we should start looking at the questions here on the chat.
Let's go. Then I will. The beer signal should be.
Oh yeah. Do you have a?
I have a beer here.
Do you have more?
More? Okay. Yeah.
I'm thirsty.
That's the signal for. That should be our signal for questions from chat. Yes. Is when we start drinking beer.
On your marks, ready.
Chat.
So wait. I say go, and it's like wait. I go no. Oh man, there's 3 questions. Let's not waste any time. Elite tutorial, Lucas. There's one word. First question. I've never seen the world editor of the game. It's actually, you can see it in one of the previous Devstreams. I don't remember which one.
I have no idea, but
we are going to show more of that.
Yes, I know. It's just the next build. This build we're working on right now has been time-consuming, extremely time-consuming, to say the least. So, and for me to show some more stuff in the level editor in XSI, I need to prepare some stuff, and it's easier to show stuff if you're actually working on it. So, but that's something that we're definitely going to bring back once we start getting past this hurdle of stuff that we need to do, because it seems like something that you guys want to see. So, and we don't have anything to hide here. We can show everything of that process.
There was I think earlier a guy was asking, could you kind of give us a workshop so we can make our own maps? So I guess when we talk about maps again, we'll explain why you can't really, as a player, get in and start using a world editor.
I never say never. When we made the...
Not as it is right now.
No, but actually, once we made the first Hitman game we made, there were some crazy guys out there that actually reverse engineered the entire game and started creating their own level editor. They want to make new levels for Hitman, and we just like, oh, this is just impossible. This is like the hugest pile of spaghetti you have ever seen. They go, oh, we don't care, and it's just and they came really, really far with that editor. I was very impressed with that. So if we're going to allow players to see if they can build their own levels, it's going to be in a very, very low level, very, very low level. The
question from Ilarvan. Any plans for adding more sights for scoped rifles? Some different sights,
More scopes.
more scopes,
Um,
like a horoscope. Did I just say that? Sorry, I'm tired and old and not funny.
Oh yeah, we are looking into more scopes. Obviously,
Right.
I think it also that it's a bit thin on the scopes right now. I think the guy that is working on that is usually doing the scopes are actually doing scopes right now. It's just
Is
not,
he? Is he?
Yes, but it's not scopes for rifles.
No, it's scopes for other things.
It's scopes for
Da, da,
bigger stuff,
bigger stuff.
bigger things.
Soon you will know.
So
I guess they got the hint. Yeah. We keep getting that question. Do you have the guy's called Zekla?
there what?
Zaekla?
Exactly. Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how many words it is. Zaekla. Oh, anyway, do you have in mind a Pacific campaign someday in the future?
yes, I think the general far out in the future design goal is to have the entire Earth covered, so we can go everywhere. Again, it's the game is set as a sort of like you could say like we used the Second World War, late World War II as the setting for our game. So we're not trying to be super historically correct with different battles and all that stuff. It's a game where we use the theatrics more than the specific things. So we will. It would be cool to see obviously entire Asia, but also if you have, for example, Russia had some Stalin had some great concerns about the getting attacked from
By the Japanese, right?
from the Japanese, yeah. So
Kamchatka.
yeah,
and all that.
one of those things that
Manchuria.
when in the starting of the Barbarossa, a lot of the Russians tanks and military was actually stationed at the far east of Russia to protect against the attack from Japan, which is why it was obviously what to do. He was also on two fronts, and he had a treaty with Hitler, and wasn't expecting him to break that treaty so fast. Obviously, miscalculation there. But
Stalin should have played more strategy games. I think
he should have been just slightly more paranoid. But I think that guy was pretty paranoid in the first place.
Yeah. Fortunately, he had a lot of spawns.
Yeah. So yes, it would be cool, and it's also why we people would probably be a little bit surprised that we it's not foreign for us to think about scenarios that are not in the history books, but more was a likely scenario in history books. America, for example,
Versus Australia.
Germans landing in America and see some battlefields over there. It's definitely something that could be cool to put into the game.
So New York.
Oh yeah.
Next build.
No, but I'm just saying that the scope of the game includes having these somewhat alternative scenarios without going too far into fantasy land.
That would be cool. Let's move on to Dimecruz is asking the scoped rifle, the Axis scoped rifle, the Gewehr, not the Gewehr, but the Karabiner
The kind of
98 is shooting a bit to the right instead of the center of the crosshair when zoomed. Is it meant to be that way or not?
Huh? I would assume that would be a bug.
As far as we know, that would be a bug.
Yeah.
But
Splixen?
yeah,
Splixen.
Splixen, can you hear us?
Can you check that stuff out?
Yes.
Splixen! Report, please!
That's just yeah. It's pleasant to say that, you know.
It's pleasant to shout commands at Splixen.
It was just
you feel good
invoke
with
the
this.
name, take the name of Splixen. And a question that we haven't covered yet, because I mean, a lot of those questions, guys, I would say go to our YouTube page and watch the questions section at the end of the previous session, or the one there's a lot of those. Yeah, so more sights for a scope rifle. A lot of people are asking for Omaha Beach, and I think the answer to that is balance.
I think we actually I think we have talked about that a few times before. Omaha Beach is. I could see it as being a fun bot fest where you just mow down as many invading forces as possible, and maybe have a few human players among them, but it would be some sort of like a rush type game mode. We haven't done it yet because it has been done so many times, so we would probably try and channel our energy into something that has not been done so many times before.
Let's see. There's a lot of talk about maps, and of course the question of
more maps are coming.
Yes,
don't worry. We just need to have time to actually make them.
This is a nice one. Arobine is asking, will we ever be able to load a plane with supplies rather than bombs, so you can drop some love instead of.
That's not a bad idea.
It's like Santa Claus is coming.
Yeah. No, but it makes sense.
It would be cool. What I always thought is that was that something that was technologically feasible in World War II, like for example to parachute jeeps.
Yes.
They would drop that. You could drop a jeep from the air.
Drop a tank.
You could drop a tank from the air, right?
There's a special, I think it's F version of the Panzer I, which is actually an airborne version of the Panzer I. It was fitted with the 20mm gun instead of one of the machine guns, and it was used to in the early days where the Germans experimented with the paratroopers. And actually, I think the Americans have a similar one where I think it's called the Locust, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Which is also a light tank that's been airdropped. So it's definitely possible.
So they did
obviously
that
you wouldn't be able to airdrop a Tiger II into the battlefield, but the light tanks would be possible, and obviously jeeps and stuff like that.
Think about it. They showed that in A Bridge Too Far, right?
They
didn't they? Broen ved Arnhem.
I think you're thinking about that's a scene in Band of Brothers
where they find a jeep. Yeah.
No. That's the Private Ryan, isn't it?
Yes, it's Private Ryan where they find a crashed glider with a jeep in it.
Yeah,
and all
some
that,
guy have put a jeep in a glider and then have a armor plate underneath it, making the plane way too heavy.
And they crashed. And yeah. So that kind of stuff existed.
Oh yeah. The interesting, the fascinating thing about World War II is that they tried everything. Every crazy idea you could come up with was tested.
Because we need a volunteer for something really insane.
And it makes sense. You're in the war. You're getting threatened by invasion, and you just go, let's see if this shit works. It might be crazy. Just let's see if this stuff works. And some of it actually did.
And then there's like, poor Bob. So
no, but actually the paratrooper part is something that has it's like its field test in the Second World War. Actually, the first ever paradrop in combat was done here in Denmark.
For the Germans?
The Germans, when they went for Norway, they sort of like when the Germans took Denmark, one of the first things they did was to land paratroopers in Aalborg, up in the north of Jutland.
Aalborg.
Yeah, Aalborg has an airport.
Okay.
And that was taken by German paratroopers, and then they could start to attack Norway from there.
Huh.
So and that was like the first sort of like, let's see if this stuff works. Worked pretty good. Then they had the disaster later one that just made Hitler go, no more paratroopers. Where they got dropped down and the weapons got dropped down in different places. They just like, I don't know how many. It was quite a few paratroopers that just landed with no weapons.
And where was that, you said?
I think that was in Crete or something?
Okay.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but.
There's so many of these. But isn't there? There's a movie coming about the 9th of April. called the 9th of April. I think I don't know if it's coming out only in Denmark, but I saw.
Yeah, we should
saw the
actually
trailer
try
for
and
it.
show that trailer. It's pretty.
Yeah, the trailer looked really cool. So why not? Let's show the trailer if we. I look for more questions.
It's a Danish movie coming out about the invasion in Denmark, and it's actually looking pretty good. Danish soldiers fought bravely for 2 hours before getting completely overrun. Norwegians fought for
longer
for the entire war. They were kind of a little bit better than us. We just got moved over, but I think that has also to do with the fact that it was totally unprepared. Denmark was totally unprepared for that attack, and
very flat.
It was not also
at the time.
Denmark was not actually the strategic goal. The goal was Norway. So Denmark was just like the first footstep in a bigger campaign.
We're getting told that we're going over. By the way, Pitbull 1973 is telling me that the aim bug that people are experiencing with the Kar 98 is also happening on the 1903 rifle. So most likely,
Old Man Smithers has documented on Twitch stream.
So I guess our Splixon is already on it.
Yes. Thank you.
Ice Warrior 92 is asking if you're Canadian.
No,
he's got the wrong guy. I'm the Canadian.
Actually, I've never been to Canada. I've been very close. I went to the Niagara Falls, and I couldn't go on the other side because at that time, when I lived lived in New York at that time, my visa was expired. So I was.
You need a visa for that? You did.
At that time, you needed a visa to be in America, and it was expired. And so if I left America, I couldn't get back in. So it's just like, oh yeah, you guys go on the other side and see the waterfalls, and I just stay here.
Knife Shark is asking about uniform color. Because he's asking about tank balance. That is actually people are saying the tanks are not balanced. Can you explain that quickly? I think
we're getting back to the good old. We are going to add tanks and weapons along the way. That's 2015, more content, and we do not aim to balance everything one by one. We have categories instead that we put into the game, and we actually focus more on making the tanks more like you would expect if you know something about the tank. You would expect it to behave in a certain way. In the beginning of the game, we actually, when we had very few tanks in the game, we had to sort of like skew the tanks because there was only one heavy on each side and there was only one medium. Then they had to be somewhat identical, otherwise the game would be unplayable. But as we add more tanks and more weapons to the game, they will be tweaked towards what we actually think how they should handle. And I can say the skill system we have in place should make up for that stuff, because it's more like if you're a great player with a bad weapon, or with a weapon that's not as powerful, you will still earn the amount of skill points that a bad player with a good weapon have, and that should actually balance it out somewhat. So we actually aim at making the weapons more like you would expect them to, rather than just having the weapons be medium tank type 2, and then the tank is just merely graphics. So that should probably answer that question. He's also answering for the Panther tank. I'm also a Panther tank fan. I would love to see that in. It's if I get the opportunity to prioritize that stuff, I would definitely off the priority. Unfortunately, it's not my call to decide what particular tank goes into the game. I am only pointing in the direction of we need more medium tanks. Can you come up with some cool medium tanks, please?
So I guess I just saw in the chat that they're talking about the Norwegians didn't have to wear this helmet. But I think isn't the Danish helmet looks a lot like the one that the rebels have in Star Wars. The
original Danish helmet.
The original,
is really weird looking.
Yeah, it looks like
yeah.
And
we have the world famous Masson machine gun. Denmark was producing weapons at that time.
Yeah, they had it was an okay machine. There wasn't.
It was actually, and they were both
Yeah.
Madsen submachine gun, Madsen machine gun, and Madsen rifle and stuff. This Madsen guy was apparently pretty good at making weapons.
So I guess we will have
Now
to.
Denmark only produces landmines. Not good. Stop that stuff. Stop that.
So-
Denmark, do not produce landmines, please.
They're only fun in video games.
Yeah.
And even
Evil stuff.
but I think we have to kind of call it a day. We should. Oh wait, there is the yes.
That is awesome. Look at that guy.
Look at that.
Well, it looks like it protects him a lot, though. But
I don't know. I
Also
I
looks
think
really
of
heavy, big.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail there. With,
so like medieval. Oh,
fetch la vache. But we have to mention one thing before we go. That the Battle Vision contest, I think in the other.
Here we go.
I mean, should we go through the winners or next time? Next time, because
I think,
it would not be fair to okay.
Yeah.
Let's. But there's a new Battle Vision contest beginning because they kind of announced the winners already. Yeah, we'll go through them next time because I mean we are
running out of time.
We're running out of time, and we will.
Well, we can go on for hours.
Yeah, definitely. We've got nothing else to do.
No, Friday and we drink beer and just go.
So
Bring in the booze, Splixen.
we'll just do a quick recap and then call it a day. We talked in I think fairly great detail about what's been added with the add-on 2. Spots add-on 2 build that we just deployed, and what the various little glitches that come with sometimes major changes, and what happens with the values of the various weapon parameters that we were not done tweaking, twitching, twerking.
No. Weapon twerking. What the?
to quote Miley Cyrus. So we will also, I think, so we will keep on twerking the weapon parameters, and we have been kind of catching up with.
Do you use the mouse or the keyboard for that? I'm just interested in how it actually is done.
All right,
or maybe a touchpad. That would be better.
All right. Yeah, I have pictures now in my head. Can we show that on full screen? Right. So, and I think we talked about also the whole question of LMG bipods.
Again,
and basically combat badges. We covered some of
we
that.
basically promised it. Damn it!
Yeah. It's being looked into.
Yeah, it's always been looked into.
So we will call it a day now before we start trailing off into Miley Cyrus territory. So
twerking off.
So
Stop.
You can view the entire episode on Twitch until next week, and we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel as well. If you have any questions that we haven't answered and you can't find the answer to those in our previous episodes, you can also ask them on our forum. We have a forum thread for questions to the devs. And I guess with these words, we will be wishing you a good weekend.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. See you next week.
And thanks for
playing.
Hey!
I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna play German. I've been playing German all week, trying to kind of support the troops on both sides. So, see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye next week.